consider yourself to be a pretty independent person, or do you consider yourself to be one that is dependent on others or substances, and you consider yourself to be pretty needy? I thought for most of my life that I was a pretty independent person, but I really realized that in a lot of ways, I was very codependent. I was dependent on using food to calm myself, and I was dependent on other people to make my life a certain way or to make me feel a certain way. So, what I have learned through a great deal of inner work and what I share in this week's episode is that one, you can actually move from this place of being dependent, being a victim, to a place of being free and having being liberated, just knowing that you can satisfy your own needs and your wants and desires, and you don't have to be dependent on others. So if you are one that is feeling like you feel trapped in your relationships, or you feel that you are constant looking on the outside of yourself for something to make you feel better on the inside, then this week's episode is for you. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. I'm Kim Gross. I'm your host, and I'm doing a solo episode today. And first, I'll say that this background, if you're watching me on video, is just a filter. I am not literally in front of the beach with the ocean, although I do live in Florida. So today, rather than beginning with a quote, as I normally do, I'm actually going to share a little excerpt from my book that I'm writing. So I'm super excited. And I'm going to just start with this excerpt from the book and then have a chat with you about this, because it has been an extremely huge shift for me in the way that I show up and relate with others. So without further ado, this is my first reading or excerpt from my book. And so here it is. It's on neediness and needing others. And here's what it says. Neediness is the polar opposite of desire because it places demands on others. When we're needy, we are likely to pressure, manipulate, and guilt trip others into giving us what we want. This deals a deadly blow to what true love is. Not needing empowers us to express our desires. We are no longer afraid to ask for what we want. At the same time, we recognize that what we're asking for of another means that they are under no obligation to fulfill what we desire. Free of neediness, we are bold to ask for what we want. The other is then free to give or withhold. Because we are asking out of desire instead of demanding out of need, issuing an invitation, not voicing an expectation, we are able to take no for an answer. Here's the key. When we have a solid sense of self, we are confident of our ability to take care of our own needs, especially the need to handle disappointment. Ooh, okay, take a deep breath on that one, because I know that this might be difficult for many of you. It was so difficult for me at one point in time. Obviously, that's why I'm writing about it. And I really didn't even consider myself to be a super needy person. But what I did need, or what I expected, was for others to act or behave in the way that I wanted them to act or behave in order to keep my comfort level, to keep my anxiety, my nervous system regulated. So I needed others to act and behave in the way that I wanted them to keep everything nice and everything peaceful. Let's back up a little bit and go back to this. Free of neediness, we are bold to ask for what we want. And then the other is free to give or withhold. And one of the reasons, if I'm honest, why this one was also a struggle for me, and I do share quite a bit about this in my book, is that I grew up with people in my life holding strings. There were strings attached to when they did something for me or gave me something. And that if I didn't fall into line or didn't do exactly what was expected of me, then there was often either like a guilt trip or there was some type of consequence, some type of feedback that I knew that I was saying or doing something wrong. And that is what contributed and played into me becoming a people pleaser, is because I didn't want the caregivers or my loved ones to be upset and disappointed with me. So I fell into line. And this is often what does underpin the people pleasing tendencies. So being free of neediness, we are bold to ask for what we want. And that was the other thing that was difficult, is that I was often afraid to ask for what I wanted or what I needed because I didn't believe that I was worthy enough to have my wants, my desires, and my needs met. If you are experiencing something similar, if there's someone in your life where you are feeling disappointed because you asked for something and you are met with a no, or if you just secretly harbor your needs, your wants, your desires, and you don't voice them and you don't speak up and say what you want or need and feel disappointed. So, the reason why I decided to use this particular passage from the book and to talk about it is because I want to share with you what's possible. A big part of what I talk about in a lot of my podcasts and in the book is this theme of going from a people pleasing and perfectionistic prison to paradise. In other words, going from a place of victimhood to freedom. And so I share many stories and examples of how I have gone from a place of being a victim to a place of freedom. And this describes freedom, right? When you can be in a place, and that's why, let me go back to it again for a second, where I said that when we have a solid sense of self, we are confident of our ability to take care of our own needs, and especially the need to handle disappointment. This is what I have learned to do over time. This is the healing that has taken place in my life in order to get to a place where I am not dependent on somebody else meeting my needs. I have learned how to take care of my own needs. And I'm in a place where I don't need for anyone to do anything or be a certain way. Now, if I'm 100% honest, it doesn't mean that freaking pattern doesn't still show up sometimes. This is not about perfection, which is the other theme I talk about all the time. But most of the time, I'm in a place of knowing now how to heal myself, how to take care of my own needs, my own wants, and my own desires. And that is a place of freedom. Now, does this mean that we go to this place where we don't ask for anything from anyone or we don't rely on anyone for anything? No, I'm not saying that either, because then that's just swinging back to the other end of the pendulum It's going from all or nothing. So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, and what I really want to hone in on, is that when we can learn to take care of our own needs and we know how to, and we have healed enough to reparent ourselves, have our adult selves show up for our inner child, the wounded parts of us, when we have learned how to do that and know that we can take care of ourselves and meet our own needs, that's coming from a different space and a different energy of needing someone to do it for us. That is coming from a different place than always searching and scouring all over the place. Can you do this for me? I need you to do this. I need this. I need you to be there for me. I can't handle it. I can't do it for myself. I'm not capable. Or maybe you have someone in your life that, here's a good example. It could be you, or it could be someone in your life, someone that you know, that most of the time, or even every time, they or you become overwhelmed with emotion, stress, anxiety. The first thing that person needs to do is offload it. Just offload and quickly pick up the phone, call you, or you're the one who's picking up the phone and you're calling your friend every single time something goes wrong and you feel upset and you feel like you can't handle it. That is looking outside of yourself to find someone who can calm your inner self, your inner landscape. Or if you don't reach out to someone, you might go and reach for a joint or a bottle of wine, or you just completely dismiss it, disregard whatever pain or angst is coming up because you're trying to avoid it. You go to some type of old behavior, old pattern that you created when you were young, and it's unhealthy. It doesn't serve you. So, what I am saying here and what I'm suggesting in the excerpt that I read is that when we can get to a place of knowing how to comfort ourselves, trusting in ourselves that we can handle whatever comes our way. And yes, we can ask for support. Yes, we can go to a meeting. If you're in recovery for an addiction, you can go to a 12-step meeting. You might go to your therapist. You might call your friend. But if your friend is unavailable or can't give you the comfort that you're looking for or doesn't give you the comfort you're looking for, then can you come back to yourself and know that you can do it for yourself? That's the part where I read that when we have a solid sense of self, we are confident of our ability to take care of our own needs. So that is a place from freedom, because then you're not dependent on a significant other, your parent, you're not a best friend, you're not dependent on that person to be your everything for you, because that's a place of victimhood. When you are dependent on someone on the outside or some substance, some behavior to take care of what's going on the inside, when you have that dependency, that's a place of victimhood. And that's a place of prison, as far as I see it. So the paradise and the freedom is knowing that you can take care of it yourself. So how do you get from prison to paradise? That is what I do. That is what I teach. My 5-step power pathway is a repeatable process that I've created that helps guide you to do the healing so that you can get to a place where you know how to source your own inner safety and take care of your needs. And of course, if you're interested in knowing more, hearing more, you can always reach out to me. You can email me. You can go to my website. I even have a quiz on my website if you're wondering if you are a people pleaser or if you're a perfectionist. then I invite you to take that quiz. It's very simple. It's 10 questions for each for the people pleaser, 10 for the perfectionist. So it's super quick and it's fun and it's informational. That will also allow you to get on my email list. And that's where I give weekly tips and tools on how to do this process and how to go from this prison of, and it's the prison of the mind, is what I'm talking about, to freedom, to having total freedom and feeling liberated. And I will round out this conversation by saying to you that if you had asked me 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, if I thought I would be sitting here today, right now, doing a podcast and sharing with all of you that I feel like I am in this place where I no longer am dependent on someone on the outside to take care of my wants, my desires, and my needs, I would say that you were absolutely freaking crazy. Like, no way. My inner child was driving the bus. She was scared all the time. She was anxious. She was just running the show. And my adult self was nowhere to be found. So I would have said, no way. And I share this with you, and I'm writing the book because one, it was a extremely healing process for me to write the book, but two is that I want to share my message with all of you to let you know that there is hope. There is hope that you can heal your wounds that are keeping you, blocking you, limiting you from having the freedom, the peace, the joy, the abundance that you want and desire in your life. And my book will walk you through that. My 5-step power pathway can walk you through that, or just continue to follow me on my podcast. And I'm going to continue with both my solo episodes and having more guests on where we talk about these very topics to help you to be able to move and shift. So I hope that you found this episode helpful. And if you did, I would love for you to let me know. You can let me know in the comments. And if you feel inspired or moved to leave a review, that would be amazing as well. So until next time, everybody, have a great week.